Did Pope Francis, acting on behalf of the World Economic Forum, publicly support euthanasia for alcoholics, autistic and disabled people, to help humanity fight climate change? No, that's not true. The pontiff never said that. Following the Roman Catholic Church's long-established policy, he has condemned euthanasia more than once in his public speeches. Pope Francis does not work for the non-existent World Economic Forum. The story making the claim used an apparent allusion to a different not-for-profit entity, the World Economic Forum, WEF, trying to link two unrelated things, euthanasia and climate change, and thus recycle a narrative previously debunked by lead stories. The claim originated from an article published by the People's Voice on July 28, 2023. Its headline read, quote, "Pope Francis says alcoholics, autistic and disabled people should be euthanized to fight climate change." End quote. The article continued, quote, "Pope Francis has thrown his weight behind the World Economic Forum's campaign to euthanize people with autism, alcoholism and other minor illnesses and disabilities to help humanity fight so-called climate change." End quote. Here is what it looked like at the time of the writing. Source: The People's Voice screenshot taken on Friday, July 28, 15:46–23, 2023 UTC. The claim is a variation of a previously debunked story, also published by the People's Voice, that incorrectly linked euthanasia to efforts to minimize the impact of climate change. This article fails to mention where and when Pope Francis supposedly advocated for the euthanization of alcoholics, autistic and disabled individuals to combat climate change. Contrary to the People's Voice claim, the 86-year-old pontiff is not involved in running the World Economic Forum, an international non-governmental organization that is a frequent target of conspiracy theories promoted by the People's Voice, among other websites. The People's Voice also described him as an agenda contributor to the WEF. The only two mentions of Pope Francis on the WEF website relate to his remarks for the organization's annual gatherings in Davos, Switzerland, in 2014 and 2018. Neither speech was delivered in person or mentioned euthanasia, as searches of the transcripts showed. Source: WeForum.org screenshot taken on Friday, July 28, 17:33. 22-2023, UTC. Here is the search for the word euthanasia in his 2018 speech. Source: WeForum.org screenshot taken on Friday, July 28, 17:28. 30-2023, UTC. And here is the search for the word euthanasia in his 2014 speech. Source: WeForum.org screenshot taken on Friday, July 28, 17:27. 08-2023, UTC. In reality, the Catholic Church has a long history of opposing euthanasia. A declaration on the matter, issued in May 1980, explicitly stated, quote, "It is necessary to state firmly once more that nothing and no one can in any way permit the killing of an innocent human being, whether a fetus or an embryo, an infant or an adult, an old person, or one suffering from an incurable disease, or a person who is dying. Furthermore, no one is permitted to ask for this act of killing, either for himself or herself or for another person entrusted to his or her care, nor can he or she consent to it, either explicitly or implicitly, nor can any authority legitimately recommend or permit such an action. For it is a question of the violation of the divine law, an offense against the dignity of the human person, a crime against life, and an attack on humanity. What a sick person needs, besides medical care, is love, the human and supernatural warmth with which the sick person can and ought to be surrounded by all those close to him or her, parents and children, doctors and nurses." End quote. In 2000, the Vatican issued another statement, re-emphasizing that, from its perspective, dying patients need palliative care, not euthanasia. Quote, "It is worth remembering that the pain of the patients, which the pro-euthanasia campaign, talks about and on which it seeks to base a justification or obligation for euthanasia and or assisted suicide, today, more than ever before, is curable, with the proper analgesic and palliative treatment in proportion to the pain. If accompanied by the appropriate human and spiritual assistance, the pain can be alleviated and made tolerable in an atmosphere of psychological and affective support. End quote. In 2002, the Catholic Church described the legalization of euthanasia for persons between 16 and 18 years old in the Netherlands as a slippery slope. In 2015, Pope Francis said during a meeting with Italian youth, quote, "We elderly have ailments and problems. We make problems for others. Perhaps people discard us because of our ailments, because we are no longer needed. There is also another habit, pardon the phrase, of letting them die.